Don't let your would haves, could haves, and should haves become your children's. Today, we're going to talk about success and what stands in the way of success. And oftentimes, we just don't even know what it looks like. What do I mean when I say, don't let your would haves, could haves, and should haves become your children's? You see, when we set out to start something, we start to build a foundation and frame a house. It's very interesting that Jesus came back as a carpenter, right? Success is very similar to building a house. It's not glorious at the beginning, and oftentimes it looks like a failure, and it looks very ugly. The Bible has a couple of encouraging words on this particular topic, one of which is Proverbs 14:23. In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. And penury is extreme poverty, destitution. This is the would haves, could haves, and should haves. The diligent hand, right? We look at Proverbs 22:29. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. All work works. Sometimes it's working on you, and other times it's working for you. I got that from Myron Golden. What it looks like when it's working on you is not very glorious on the outside. It doesn't look like a ton of external success. I happen to believe that success isn't a destination, it's a state of being. Because we're meant to build arks. It took Noah 100 years to build his ark. How long do you want your wealth to last? Well, that's how deep the foundation is going to have to go. And so just because you aren't experiencing external success right now doesn't mean that you aren't in the process of becoming successful, that you aren't in a state of success. When I first started marketing, I believe that I paid $500 and generated one email address off of paid ads. Little did I know that would bring me to starting an AI marketing company where I'm now capable of sending millions of emails per month to targeted lists and generating data faster than anyone else on the market to create hyper-targeted messaging to bring the right people my way into my business and help serve them to make more money and create more freedom for themselves and their families. Would you say that generating one email address for $500 was successful? No. By no anything. By no KPI, by no standards was that successful. However, it pushed me to become the person that I was meant to become. And here I am today. And so when we believe that success is only determined by the external achievement, we miss the work that God is doing on us in the process, in the crucible, in the fire. We're going to be tried by fire, and what remains will be gold. The dross will be burned away. So what do I mean when I say, don't let your would haves, could haves, and should haves become your children's? It sounds a little bit like this. Man, if for us to start, right? Like, let's say that talk of the lips, all of the things that we're going to talk about doing. Oh, I'm going to start a business. Oh, if I had a better opportunity. Oh, if I had gone to this school. Oh, if I had more money. Oh, if my family had left me an inheritance. Oh, if my father had been there. Oh, if my mother had been there. I could have gone D1. I could have been in the NFL. Man, I should have been the one who got picked. Let me tell you what that sounds like a generation from now. man, I wish my dad would have done something with his time. Man, I wish my dad wasn't always drinking. Man, I wish my dad wasn't just playing games. Man, I wish my dad learned a skill. Man, I wish my dad started a family business. Man, I wish my dad would have taught me a skill. Man, I wish my dad would have shown us how to make money. Man, I wish my dad would have taught us how to be financially secure. Man, I wish my dad would have read more. But instead, here I am, working a same dead-end job that he's working. There will be no inheritance for me. What do I do now? You see, God wants us to think generationally. Individualistic thinking is a Western idea that cannot be used in the context of the Bible. Like when you convert, when you trust in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and confess that he is Lord, we are shedding an individualistic mindset. There is nothing in here. There is nothing in this book that is about the individual. This is why Jesus could pay for the sins of all. This is why the prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, this is why they suffered. They didn't suffer because, like they were a bad person and God individually picked on them. No, they were paying for the sins of a people. Why did Moses not enter into the promised land? It wasn't because he was solely disobedient. It was the group as a whole. And he finally gave in to the disobedience that the Israelite people already were. And therefore he was unable to enter into the promised land because he was supposed to set himself aside and be holier than the people because he was God's representative. Our success is going to be determined by the generational wealth, wisdom, principles, knowledge, understanding that we leave behind for our children. You see, the Bible says that a good man saves up an inheritance for his children's children. Here's why. Most of us, when our parents get old, we will be likely in our 60s, and if they live for a long time, 70s, right? What are you going to do with your parents' inheritance at 60 or 70 years old? The inheritance that your father stores up is not for you. It's for your children. You're just supposed to have gathered enough knowledge and wisdom by the time that your father dies or your mother dies, where when you get the inheritance, you can multiply it at scale. So that when you pass that on to your children, they can then do the same exact thing over and over and over and over again. You see, we need to shed this individualistic idea of success because it's not real. It's not truth. The Bible is truth. And so generational success is the only success that matters. So what are you doing in your family line to produce an outcome that you're of freedom, right? Bring freedom to the captives. Bind up the brokenhearted. Preach liberty, right? What are we doing to ensure the freedom of those who are going to come after us? A man who cannot provide for his household is worse than an infidel. Those are strong words. Why? Why would God say that? Why would a man who cannot provide for his children, his parents, his aunts, his uncles be worse than an infidel? Because he's thinking individualistically. He's being selfish. He's not thinking generationally. You know why all of the names are in this book? Of every single generation? You ever read the Bible like, man, there's an awful lot of names in here. Why do I need to know all of them? Because the Bible is pointing to the fact that it's about the generations, that it's generational success, that it is eternal success, that God thinks generationally. You know why you're supposed to leave space for the Lord to have revenge? Because you can only come up with revenge individually. You only think in this lifetime. You do not see eternity. You cannot find the perfect exact time to exact revenge on someone. I mean, let's take a step back, okay? I want you to think about two types of people. The first type of person is either they're impotent or they're barren. They come into an inheritance, millions upon millions of dollars. What are they going to do with that? They're going to waste it on their one life. Why? Because there are no generations to follow. I want you to think about how that person thinks right now, okay? Me, 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 me. Now, what about the person who comes into wealth through an inheritance or lottery or just business, whatever it looks like, but they have children? And those children have grandchildren. How is that person going to think? Is that person going to go, I just need to spend all of it? They'll figure it out. An evil man would say, my children need to struggle like I did. Why? Because they believe it was the struggle that made them who they were. And it couldn't be further from the truth. You made it a decision and set an intention on becoming successful and on bringing freedom, maybe just to yourself, but the end goal was freedom from struggle. And so you learned how to become the person who could be free from struggle. Why wouldn't you then teach your children those same exact skills? That doesn't make any sense. God is a good gift giver. So why would we damn our children into a life of servitude? A good man saves up an inheritance for his children's children. The Bible is literally a book about eternal freedom. The closest thing that we can come to even conceptually consider, like, live in, like, that we can relatively comprehend is generational freedom. The freedom that you're going to make enough wealth on earth, money, you're going to make enough money, let me be very clear, because God is the God of wealth and of money. He is a businessman. There is no businessman ever who doesn't have scales. It doesn't make any, like, why would a just weight be important to God? Like, why would an unbalanced scale be an abomination to the Lord if he wasn't a merchant? We can only consider eternal freedom through the lens of generational freedom. This is why he talks about business in the Bible. Like, there's no better way to create generational wealth for your family, because it doesn't matter what happens in the stock market. Like, it doesn't matter what happens with your investments if you have a strong business. Okay, like, the economy gets hard. All right, you can still generate leads, can't you? You still have the principles of success. You still understand how to market to people. You still understand how to convert. You understand how to keep selling them bigger and better packages that keep advancing and transforming their lives. You understand how to bring in recurring income. What does it matter whether the stock market goes to 0 or 1 billion? Like, and I understand it doesn't go up that, like, whatever. That's not the point. The point is, by creating a business, you're creating an ark. And now you may believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. All right, cool. Whether it happens or not is, I don't know. Noah went through the tribulation, didn't he? I'm sure those waves weren't smooth sailing for 40 days. He was in an ark. And you can see it as the Lord bringing the church in to avoid the tribulation. Noah spent 100 years building his ark. I just wouldn't risk it. Like, if you want to believe whatever you're going to believe, like, I would hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Build an ark. What does an ark look like? It looks like a business. Why does it look like a business? Because you can transform people's lives and you can bring freedom to them and you can generate wealth and you can ensure that your generational lines also have freedom because you can just teach them the business. You can teach them the basic principles of business and of making money, and it will last for forever. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. And when you're on this journey building your ark, building your business, like when you set up the frame, it's going to feel ugly. Because the storm's going to hit while you're building your house or your mansion or whatever it looks like. A mansion in a storm looks ugly when it's just the frame. And you'll feel like some days, am I ever going to figure this out? Is this going to work? The answer is I don't know. But what's the alternative? You're going to keep being a slave? You're going to allow your children to be used and abused like you are? Dude, I've been poor. I've been poor. Like, I would never want my children to go through that. I don't want my children to be middle class. I've been upper middle class. I don't want that either. I want them to be rich. Why? Because this life ain't about me. This life is about the generations to follow. So build an ark as though we aren't going to be raptured in this lifetime. I mean, don't you wish your parents did that for you? That they built you an ark? That you didn't have to go enslave $20, $30, $40 an hour? I think we'd value our job a little bit differently if every hour they came up and were like, all right, that was your hour. Here's your $10. All right, now get back to work. And then another hour goes by. Oh, great job. Here's your next $10. Oh, you want a raise? Yeah, you know what? I can give you an extra quarter. It flicks a quarter at you. Now get back to work. You can call it what you want. Oh, well, I get paid, therefore it's not slavery. Okay. How many of us feel like we're only working so that we can survive another day to go back to work? Like, we make just enough money to eat and get gas and have a roof over our head so we can survive long enough to make it back to work the next day. That kind of sounds like slavery to me. When we shift our mindset from an individualistic point of view to a generational point of view, we see the world through God's eyes. Because he's experienced every generation. I don't think I actually finished my example of the person who, if they have children to follow, like, how are they going to manage their money versus the person who's barren and impotent? Well, that's how God thinks. God doesn't think individualistically. He thinks generationally. And actually, it's the next step. It's eternally. But can you think eternally? No, I can't. I'm not saying I'm God or nothing, but like, I can't. Like, when somebody tells me that they'll be like, well, what if we get bored in heaven? Like, dude, have a child. Have a child and look upon the face of your child, and then you tell me if you'll ever get bored in heaven. If I look at my daughter, I could just stare at her. It's like looking upon the face of God. Infinite joy. You could spend eternity looking at the face of God, like the angels have. All work works. And right now you may be in the fire. Right now you may be where nothing is externally working for you. Well, I want to let you know, my friend, that means it's working in you. The Lord trieth the heart. It's working in you. You're becoming the person that you're meant to become, as long as you're diligently working on your business and building an ark, building something generationally for your children and your children's children. I believe in you. I've been there. I know what it feels like. Feel like a failure after building something. You're like, dude, why can't I figure out how to generate people to come buy this thing? What is wrong with me? Read 20 books on the topic and go, I thought I understood, but I guess I don't. Just take that next step. Put up that next plank, 2x4, whatever the heck you want to call it. Just keep building that frame, because one day it's going to be built. Then you're going to put the drywall up, and then you're going to paint, and then you're going to furnish it. And then next thing you know, you're going to be living in a mansion, and all your friends and your family are going to go, bro, how'd you do it? Can I get some money? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I always believed in you. And you'll just smile and nod. Because you will have received the reward for becoming the person that you were meant to become. I pray that this blessed you in some way. Please like, comment, share this video with a friend if you felt that this was valuable. If you drop a comment below, I'll jump in and share my appreciation and my love. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And until then, I pray that your riches are multiplied, your wealth is abundant, and that your prosperity is generational. And I will drop in the link below, or I will drop a link below or somewhere around here, a video about never breaking your word, because we have to become trustworthy if we want to generate any real, eternal, lasting success. Jesus could exist with the people because he was the Word made flesh. Integrity, a word that's lost in this generation. Doing the right thing when no one's watching, even if that means making sure that you show up to where you're supposed to be on time, every time, and never 5 minutes late. I appreciate you. God bless you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.